Hey everyone, welcome back to Encoding. Today we are building this amazing portfolio website with React.js and Tailwind CSS. This website is fully responsive with a hamburger menu, and here it is. When we click on this, a hamburger menu will appear, and when we click on the list items, we will scroll down to that component, and in the next video we will add some animations to this portfolio website with framer motion. So without wasting any time, let's dive into the tutorial. On your desktop, create a new folder and name it portfolio website. Now right click on mouse and select open with VS Code. Now our project is opened in VS Code. Now go to Google and search white.js and click here getting started. Now scroll down and copy this command. Now we have to paste this command in our VS Code terminal. So open VS Code terminal and paste that command here. Now give name to your project. I am naming it as portfolio website. Now select React and select JavaScript. Now we have to run these three commands to run our project. So write here cd portfolio website. Now write npm install. You can also write npm I. Basically, it is a short form of npm install. Now it will take some minutes to install our project. Our React is installed successfully in our project. So now run it npm run dev. Now click on this link, press Ctrl and click. Now our Vite.js is installed in our project successfully. Now we have to install Tailwind. So go to Google and search Tailwind and click here install Tailwind CSS with White and copy this command and here right click and select open in integrated terminal and paste that command here and press enter. Now Tailwind is successfully installed in our project. Here is the file created by Tailwind CSS. Click on this file. Now we have to change this code. So copy this code and replace it. Now in src folder, we have this index.css file. Click here and remove all of this code. And in tailwind.css website, we have to copy this and paste it here. Now again run our app npm run dev. Now Tailwind CSS is installed in our project. Now in VS Code, we don't need this app.css file, so simply delete this file. And in public folder, we don't need this white.svg file, so simply delete this. And here in assets folder, we have a file react svg. We also don't need it, so delete this also. And in app.jsx, remove all this code. Let me close the terminal and write here RAFCE and press enter. If this React snippet is not working for you, click here on extensions and install this extension. I have already installed, that's why these snippets are working for me. So let me check if the Tailwind is working correctly or not. So I'm writing a text here, iron coding, and here inside our div class name and give color to our text. Now check it. Now our Tailwind is working very fine. Now let's start building our portfolio website. Now in src folder, create a new folder components and in components folder, create a new file navbar.jsx. Now write here RAFCE and in app.jsx we have to import our navbar component. So simply write here navbar and select navbar. Our navbar component is imported in our app.jsx. Now in navbar.jsx we have to write our code for our navbar. Now inside this div create another div and inside this div create another div and now create span tag. write a text here iron, and similarly create another span tag and change this text to coding, and write here class name, and give it a color black, and give it a class name, and give it a color yellow 500. Now here class name, and set a text Excel, and for medium size text will be 2XL, and font bold, and give it flex, and set item center and gap 1. Now inside this div give a class name, set background yellow 50, and text color will be black, and width will be full, and this div will be a container, and the margin from x-axis will be auto, and padding will be 4, and it will be hidden, but for medium display it will be flex, and justify will be between, and set items center. Now after this div create another div. Now inside this div we will render our menu items, so we will make a constant items equal to, and here write curly braces to write JavaScript, and here id will be 1, and text will be a string, and it will be about. Similarly creates for more items 1, 2, 3, 4, and change the IDs to 3 and 4, and this will be 5, and change this text to services, and this will be work, and for the fourth ID it will be testimonials, and the last one will be contact. Now inside this div, write curly braces to write JavaScript, and call this variable items and use map function. And here we will create a arrow function, and here we will use ID and text, and here we will render list items which needs a key with ID, and we will render our text. Here we go. Here is our text, and give some class names here to give it style. It will be hidden, but for medium display, it will be flex, and the space between x-axis will be 6, and the items will be center. Now set list none, so these bullet points will gone, and set text which will be large. Also give some styling to list. So write here class name, write hover, text will be yellow on hover. Now hover effect is working fine. Also add a duration. Duration will be 200, and set cursor which will be pointer. Let me capitalize the first letter here, about. Now it looking good. Now outside this div, create a anchor tag, download CV. Now give some styling to it, text large, and background will be yellow 500, and text will be black, and padding from x-axis will be 4, and padding from y-axis is 2, and it will be rounded. Now our button is ready. Now give it a hover effect, so right here hover, and set a background yellow, so now it will become light when I hover on it. Now our desktop navbar is created. Now we have to create navbar for mobile screens. So after this div, we have to create a div, and inside this div, we create a one more div, and inside this div, we create a span tag, and write a text here iron, and we create one more span tag, and change this text to coding. Now inside this div, create a class name, and give it some styling, give it a flex with width full, and justify content will be between, and items will be center, and we will give it a medium hidden, so it will be hidden for desktop screens, and we will give it a padding of 2, and give it some shadow which will be small. Now for this div, which will be our iron coating, so give it a class name, give it text Excel, font will be bold, it will be a flex in which items are center and with a gap too. Now inside this pen tag, we will give class name and we will give it a color black, and inside this pen tag, we will give a class name with color yellow. Let me decrease the size of Chrome window. Now after this div, we have to insert our icons here, so we will use React icons. So we have to install React icons in our project. So right here React icons, and go to this website and copy this command, and in terminal we have to paste this command. Now our React icons are installed in our project. You can see here React icons. Now Now go back to React Icons website and search here menu. We will use this one. Simply copy this command and paste it here. And we will use one more icon which will be for close. And here it is. So simply copy this one and paste it here. Now after this div, we have to create a div. Now give class name to this div. Class name will be flex, and justify will be center, and give items center, and give it a gap too. Now inside this div, we create a div, and we will set a on click method. On click, for on click we have to create a use state. So let me create a use state constant, and menu comma set menu equals to use state, and the initial value of this will be false. Now here in our on click, we will create a arrow function, and we will access a set menu from our use state, and inside this we will reverse our menu, and inside this div write curly braces to write JavaScript, and we will use here menu from our use state, and if menu will be an icon which we have imported from our React icons, which will be IO close, and otherwise it will be IO menu. Here it is. So here is our icon. When we click on it, we will get our close icon, and when we click on this icon, we will get our menu icon. So now give it some styling. Here we will set a size. Size will be 30, and we will use class name to set its color. Text will be black, and for this second icon we will use same styling, so copy this and paste it here. Now we have to create menu items for our mobile screen navbar. So outside this div we will create another div, and inside this div we will use curly braces, and we will create menu, and here we will create a div. Inside this div we will use the same list items, so copy this, and we have to just paste it inside this div, and when we click on it we will get our menu. So now give it some styling. Here we have to give class name. For medium display it will be hidden, and give it a background bg yellow, and padding from y-axis will be 6. Justify center, we will give items which will also center. Give it a text black, and flex, which will be a colon, and set list, which will be none. Remove these bullet points and give it a shadow small. Now here give some border from bottom and give it a width 11 by 12, which will be 91%. Give some gap here so it will look great, and give it a text which will be large. Now it's good. After the list items, we have to create our button. So we can use this one. So copy this and simply paste it here. And here is our button. We can give some margin from top 3. Now when we click on this button, we need to download a CV. So here I have some assets which will I use in my app. So simply copy this. I will provide this assets link in the description. So must check the description link. And here we move copy this in our assets folder. Now here they are. And after this we have to import our assets. So simply cv and from dot slash assets slash cv, and here after the before the class name right here href equal to curly braces cv, and we will give it a attribute which will be download. We can name it cv.pdf, remove the curly braces, and similarly we have to give it in our mobile screen button. Here just paste this, and when we click on this our cv will be downloaded. Let me check it for our desktop navbar. When we click on this, we can download our CV. Here it is. So our navbar is completed. Now we have to create a hero section for our portfolio website. So simply create a file hero.jsx and write here RAFCE. Now inside this div, we will create a div, and inside this div, we will create a h3 heading, and we will write a text here, hello I am, and after this h3 heading we will create a h1 heading, and here we will write a text iron coding. It is not showing here because we have not imported our hero.jsx file in app.jsx, so we have to import it here. So simply write it here hero, and our hero section is imported in our app.jsx. Now it's showing here in hero.jsx. After this, create a paragraph. We have to write a paragraph, so I am using lorem and press alt z. Now after that, we have to create another div which is for two buttons. So we have to create two buttons. Inside our first button, we will write a text hire me, and we will create one more button, and inside this button we will write download CV, and we have to add a icon here. So I am importing a icon from our react icons. So the icon is bs download from react icons and slash bs, and here we will add this icon bs down. Let me refresh it. Now it is showing here, and we have to add a download feature. That's why we have to add this in a anchor tag. So write here a anchor tag and simply cut it and paste it here. Now after this div, we have to create a div for our image. So simply inside this create an image tag, and inside this image tag we will use a image. So here we have to import that image. So import, and we will give it a name avatar image, and we will import it from our assets folder. So right here dot slash assets slash, and we will use this hero.png image, and we also need to import our cv. So right here cv from dot slash and assets cv. Now here we can add our link for our cv. So href and here curly braces and right here cv, and here we will give it a attribute download which is a cv.pdf, and when click on here and it will be download. So in this image we will write here src, and we will add curly braces, and we will write our image name which is avatar, and here it is, and we will give it a alt which is avatar. Now our hero section html is ready. Now we have to give it styling. So in our div tag we will create here class name, and we will give a text for all the text which is black, and we will give it a flex and flex call, and we will give it a reverse. It's for small displays. For medium display we will give it a flex row. You can see that our hero section is in flex row in medium display, and for small display it's in colon reverse. So after this we will give it justify content which will be center, and items are also center, and we will give it a padding from y-axis which will be 10, and the padding from x-axis will be 5, and for small displays we will give it padding from x-axis which is 10, and for large displays we give padding from x-axis will be 40. Now we will give it a background which will be gradient. So right here bg gradient from t to t, and t means top, and from white, and give space and write to yellow, yellow 50. Now our background is set. Now inside this div, which will be our left section, this one, so give it a class name. We will give it a width which will be full, and for medium display we give it a width 1/2 which is 50%. Margin from bottom will be 10, and text will be center, but for medium display text will be left. So we can also check it. Yes, it's good. Now we have to give styling to our S3 heading. So right here class name, and text will be base which is a size, and for medium display text is large. For large display text will be XL. Margin from bottom is 0, but for medium display minus margin from bottom will be 2 which is -2, and the text is yellow 500. Now it's good. And for H1 heading we give a class name. Text size will be 2XL. For medium display text will be 4XL, and for large display text will be 6XL, and margin from y-axis will be 0. For medium display margin from y-axis will be -1, and font will be bold. And in paragraph tag we will give a class name in which text will be base, and for medium display text is XL, and for large screen text will be 2XL, and we will make it tracking title. Here we can add a S3 heading. So after the H1 heading create a S3 tag, and inside it you can write web developer and UI/UX designer, and give some styling. So right here class name with text base, and for medium display basically we can copy this, and for that we will paste it here as we are giving same styling, but for text color we will set it green 600. Now it's good. We can check it. Maybe we can decrease its size. So we can give it XL and give it large. And for small screen, we can give it small. Now it's good. And here we can make it margin from left. Now it's good. Yeah, now it's good. Now give some styling to our button div. So right here class name and make it a flex, and items will be center, and our justify content is also center. But for medium display, our justify is start, and give it a gap, so buttons have some gap, which is 4, and from top we can give 5. Now in our anchor tag give class name, it will be flex, and items center, and text will be yellow 500 is good, and font is semi bold, and here inside this we give it a class name, and the background will be yellow of 500, and we can give padding from our x-axis, which is 10, and padding from y-axis is 1, and we give it a rounded, which is large, and the margin from right side can be 4. We will give it a hover, which is background with yellow, and we will make it 400. Yes, it's looking good. We can also give some duration, which is 200. Now it's good. We can also give some styling to this. So here we can write class name, and we can give margin from left, which is 2, and we can increase its size by text large, and we can remove this. We have to make it correct. So let me check what is the mistake. So basically we have to remove this button tag. Yes, now it is working fine and looking good. We can also give some space here from y-axis for h2 heading. So here in our h1 heading, we can give it padding from y-axis. We can give it 2, and for medium display, it will be padding from y-axis is 2. Now we have to adjust its size. So in our image div, we can give class name, and width will be full, and for medium display it will be 1 by 2, which is 50%, and padding from x-axis is 10, and for medium display padding from x-axis will be 0, and it is a flex with justify center, and items is also center. But for medium display, our justify will be and margin from bottom is 20, and for medium display margin from bottom is 0. Here in our image tag, give it a class name, give it maximum width, which is full, height will be auto. Now it is looking great. And when we click on this download CV, our PDF is download, and that's it. Our hero component is ready. Now we have to make our about component. So click here and right click and create a new file, which is about.jsx, and here write RAFCE, and inside this div we have to write our code. So let me adjust the screen windows. Now inside this div we have to make our two sections. First section is our left section where is our image, and the second section where we write all the text. So inside this div we have to create a div. Inside this div we create a image tag, and now inside this image tag we need a image, so I have to import a image. About image from dot slash assets slash, and this about image dot png. We also need our cv, so import cv from dot slash assets slash cv dot pdf. Now inside this image tag we have to write src and curly braces, and inside this we have to enter our image name, which is about image. After that we have to create a alt. It's our choice to create a alt, but I am creating for inspection. So here we can write about me. Image is not appearing here because we have not imported our about section in our app.jss. So simply import it here, about. Now it's showing here. Now here we can give some class name to style it. So class name, and width must be full, and height will be auto, and object is cover. And here we have to write class name. I am giving width as 52, and for medium display I am giving width which is 72. For margin from bottom I am giving it 8, and for medium display margin will be 0, and margin from left side is also 0, but for medium display margin from left is 30. Now it's good. Now after this, now our left section is ready. Now we have to add our right section. So here I am creating a div. We can also give a name here, curly braces, right section. And inside this div we create a s3 heading, a bit, and after that we create a s2 heading which is about me, and after that we create a paragraph. In paragraph we can write lorem. You can write the text whatever you want, alt z to align it better. Now here we have to give flags to make it in a row. So inside our main div we have to give class name. We can make it a container with margin from x-axis auto, and our padding from x-axis is 6, but for larger screen padding will be from x-axis is 14, and it is a flex with flex colon, but for medium display it is flex row, and items are center, and justify is between. We can also give padding from y-axis which will be 16, and we give it a background. Background will be gray. Here our about section is not showing in full width, so we can simply create another div, and we can wrap our all the content into this div from here, and we can remove this. We can remove these two and x2, and here we can give class name and paste that styling here. Now it's showing proper. So here after the paragraph tag we will create some experience projects and supports. So here I am creating a div, and inside this div, before giving some further content, I am giving it some styling. I am giving it flex with the flex wrap, and margin from bottom is 6. And inside this div we will create another div, and we will get some class name. So inside the class name I will make it flex with items center, and width is 50% with margin from bottom 4. Now inside this div we need a icon which is a handshake icon. So we will use our React icon. Here I imported some icons which we use in our about section. So here we will use our handshake icon. So we can write here FA handshake, and we can close this tag and give some styling. Class name, text will be yellow 500, text is 5xl, and the margin from right side will be 4. Here it is. After this icon we create a div. Inside this div we create a h4 heading 5 years plus, and we create a paragraph tag. Inside this paragraph tag we will write experience, and we can give some class names here. Text color will be gray 700, and font is semi-bold. Similarly, in our paragraph tag, we give class name with text gray, which will be 700. And after our handshake div, we will create another div. Basically, we are using same code, so we can simply copy this whole div and we can paste it here. Maybe here is a error, so let me check. So I have to give another. Now it's looking good, and we can simply change this, which will be our agent, and here we will write 24/7 replace experience with customer support. And after this div, we create another div, and inside this div, we create a button and we write a text here, hire me. And after this button, we create a anchor tag. We write a text, download CV. And here we can give href with curly braces, which is CV, and we can give download attribute, and we can write here cv.pdf, and we have to remove these curly braces. Now give some styling to this buttons div, so here write class name and we give it a flex with items center, and now give styling to this button, which is hire me. We give it a background yellow 500, and you can see it here. And padding from x-axis will be 8 and padding from y-axis is 3. It is a rounded but large, and margin from right is 4 with a hover effect with PG yellow, which is 400. Now it's good. And here we need a download icon, so after this we create a BS download icon, and we will give it a class name with the margin from left is 2 and the text will be large. And in our anchor tag we can give some class name. First will be flex with items center, text yellow with 500, font will be semi-bold. Now it's good. When we click on this, our PDF will be downloaded. Now we have to give some styling to these two texts and this paragraph text, which is not looking good here. Inside this div, we give class name with width full, and but for medium display it is 50%, which is 1/2, and for medium display padding from left side will be 12. Here it is. And in our h3 heading we give it a class name with the text will be yellow of 500, and the font is a semi-bold. Text will be large, which will be a uppercase, and margin from bottom is 4. In our h2 heading, write class name with the text 4XL, and for medium display text will be 6XL, and font is bold, but font color will be gray, which is 800, and from bottom margin is 6. And in our paragraph tag, write class name with the text gray 600, and the margin from bottom is 6. Now all set. Now we can simply maximize this, and here is our about section, which is completed. So it's for large display, and it's for medium display, and it's for smaller display, and all things are working good. Now our about section is completed. Now we have to create our service section. So Here in our components folder, we have to create a new file services.jsx, and here write RFCE, and inside this div we have to write our code. So let me fix these windows. Now inside this div we create another div, and inside this div we create a S3 heading with the text services. After this S3 heading we create a S2 heading which is check my services. Now give some class names here. Class name, set background white, and padding from y-axis will be 16, and inside this div write class name, which is a container with margin from x-axis will be auto, and padding from x-axis is 6, and for large screen padding from x-axis is 24, and text is center, and we have to wrap these two in a different div. So here I am creating one more div and simply cut this and wrap it inside this div. Now in our heading divs we write class name with a margin from bottom which is 12. Now for this S3 heading we get class name with text yellow which is of course 500, and the font is semi-bold. Text must be large with uppercase, and margin from bottom is 2. Now for this S2 heading we'll write class name and text is 4XL with font bold, and our text color will be gray of 800, and margin from bottom is 4. Our text is not appearing here, so simply in app.jsx we have to import it services, and now in our services here it is showing, and after this div we have to create another div which is for our service cards. So we have to create a div. Inside this div we create all the services card. We create 3 service card. So I'm creating one div and similarly creating 2 more divs, and give some class names here. I will use grid with grid columns, but for medium display I choose grid calls 3 and gap is 10. Now for this div give some class name, give background which is gray of 50, corners is large rounded with some shadow which is large, and padding must be 6. We can give this styling to our second and third div also. So copy this and paste it here, and here is our 3 divs. Now we can write content of every div here. So for first div I am creating a image tag. Now inside image tag we have to import our image. So firstly we need to import it. So here write import. I will give name to each image service1 from dot slash assets slash service1, and similarly we need service 2 and service 3, and here we can also change service 2 and service 3, and here we have to import our service 1, and here it is write alt, and here we can write service 1. Now give some styling, so write here class name, width must be full, and height is 48, and object is cover with rounded corners which is large, and I give a margin from bottom 4. Now after our image tag I'm creating a S3 heading. Inside this S3 heading, I'm writing a text here, landing page design, and create a paragraph tag. And here you can write the text you want to add. I'm writing here lorem and alt z. I am cutting some text because it is very long text. Now it's good. And we have to give some class names. So here class name, text can be 2x and font is semi-bold. Here it is, and text color is gray of 800 and margin from bottom is 2. And for our paragraph class name, text is gray but this time 600 and margin is 4. We can use same content, that's why we can copy this content and paste inside this div. Similarly for our third div, and here is our three cards. We have to change the image name. So here I can use service 2 and here service 3. And we can also change S3 heading. Here I am writing mobile app design, and here we can write branding. You can write whatever you want according to your projects and services. Here we need some padding or margin, so I'm giving some padding and margin. Here we can give some padding from x-axis, which can be 8, and it's good. Now when we zoom it, it's looking like this, and for smaller displays it's looking great. So now we have to need some links here. So after our services card, after our services cards here, we need to create a div and we can give it a class name. Margin from top is 8 and text will be right. And inside this div, we create a anchor tag. Inside this anchor tag, we are writing some text. Explore all services. Now we need a arrow here. So we have to import a icon here and we can use this icon in our anchor tag here, and we can give class name which is margin from left side is 2. And for this anchor tag we have to give some class name to make this text and this arrow in a row. So here I'm writing flex with items center and justify, and we can set a text to yellow of 500 and font is semi-bold. We can also give a hover effect here. So hover, now when we hover on it, it becomes yellowish. So our services section is completed. It's for large screen and it's for medium displays and it's for mobile devices and it's looking great. So now we have to create our next component which is work. So click here and right click and click new file, and we can name it work.jsx, and here we can write RFCE, and inside this div we have to write our code for our work section. So adjusting the windows, inside this div we create a S3 heading, and we write a text here work, and after this we create a S2 heading. Inside this we write a text here my case studies. Now give some class names here. Class name, it should be a container with margin from x-axis will be auto, and padding from x-axis is 4 and padding from y-axis is 12. And inside this S3 heading we will give some class names with text yellow, yellow 500, and font is semi bold, and text is in center, uppercase, with margin from bottom is 2. And inside this S2 heading, we give class name with text 4XL, and font will be bold with text center, margin from bottom is 12. Here it is not showing, so in app.jsx, simply import it, work, and that's it. Now it's showing here. After this S2 heading, we need to create a different section, case studies. Now we define a array here, case studies. Inside this, we need some data. So I'm writing curly braces, and each data is ID, which is 1, comma title, comma description. And we also need a image here. So I am making a data for work image, and here we will use a image. So before using image, we have to import that image. Import work1 from dot assets slash work1, and we need two more images. So here work2, work3, and similarly here work3, and here we will use this image work1. So I am making two more datas, 1 2, and we have to change the IDs and images. So here 3, and here work 3. Now after this as2 heading, we will use this case studies with map function. Inside this map function, we create a arrow function. Now this arrow function here, we will use study and index from our map function, and inside this arrow function we will render a div. Now this div needs a key, so key is study with dot id. Now inside this div we will use our title, description, and work images. So before using these three datas, we need to add here class name. Now it is a flex with the flex colon, and for large screen it is flex row, and items will be center with justify between. Margin from bottom is 16, and for larger display margin from bottom is 24. Now I am adding a conditional statement. To add a conditional statement, we have to remove these double quotes, and we have to insert backticks. If index is a even number, then we use. For larger display, we use flex row reverse, and otherwise we will use nothing. Now after this, we will use our datas with image. So we have to create a div. Inside this div, we create a image tag, and in src we will use a image. So simply curly braces, and here we will use our study from our map function with dot work image. Now here is our three images. Now we need to add our content. In content we will add some span tags and a heading with our title. So now inside this image tag we have to give class names. In class name I will set width as full, and height will also full, but our object is cover, and it have rounded corner, so I'm using large one, and shadow will also large. Now after this div we have to create another div for our content. So inside our content div we have to create another div which is for our headings. So inside this div we create a span tag. Inside this span tag we have to write curly braces to write JavaScript. Inside this we will use backticks with 0 dollar symbol and curly braces with index plus 1. This is a template that ensures the number is always 2 digits by adding a leading 0 for numbers below 10. For example, if index is 0, it will render 01. If index is 1, it will render 02. Basically, it renders our index. Here it is, and this one and this one. After the span tag, we create a S3 heading. Inside the S3 heading, we will use our study.title. Title is not showing here as we did not set our title yet. So we can set a title here. For example, I am writing here a title and here is our title. And for second one, we can also add a title and here is our second title and here is our third title. So basically we are using pure JavaScript with pure React. Now after this div, we create a paragraph and this paragraph render our description. So here we will use study.description. Now we can simply add description here and that's it. I have add three descriptions for 03, 02 and 01. Now we have to give some styling. So inside this div, we create a class name. Firstly, we set width as full and for larger screen, our width will be 1/2 which is 50% and padding will be 4. Now inside this div, we write class name. Inside class name, we write flex with items center and our margin from bottom is 4. Now for span tag, we also write class name. Text will be 3XL. Font is bold with a text which is of yellow color. Yellow is 500 and the margin from right side is 2. Now for S3 heading, class name, text will be 2XL and font is semi-bold. Now for our paragraph, we write class name, text is gray of 600 and margin from bottom is 4. Now it's looking good. We can also give some class name here for our image div. We set width as full and for larger screen our width will be 1/3 which is 33% and padding is 4. Now it's looking good. We can also add a button here which show details. So after this paragraph, we can create a button. Inside this button, we can give a text details. Now give some class names to style this button. Class name. Firstly, we give it a border. Border is 2 and border color will be yellow. Yellow 500 and our text color will be yellow 500 with the padding from x-axis 4 and padding from y-axis is 2 with rounded. We can set rounded as full. We can also give a hover effect. So right here hover with the background. Background can be yellow 500. Now the text is not showing, so in hover we set a text color white. So when we click on this, it's looking amazing. And this is our work component. But here the size of work and my case study is not good, so we have to adjust it. So here I have so here is a mistake. I forget to add E. So now it's good. So now our work section is completed. Now we have to move to our next section, which is testimonials. So click here and right click on components and create a new file testimonials.jsx. Now write here RAFCE. Now inside this div we have to write our code. Now inside this div we create a div and inside this div we create another div and inside this div we create S3 heading testimonials. Now after this S3 heading we create a S2 heading what people say. Now in our main div we give a class name. We set padding from y-axis as 16 and we set a background white. And in our child div we write class name and we set it as container with margin from x-axis as auto and padding from x-axis is 6 and for larger screen, padding from x-axis will be 24 and text is center. Now in our headings div, we set class name margin from bottom 12, and for our h3 heading we set class name. Class name will be text yellow of 500 with font semi-bold, and we set text as large with uppercase, and margin from bottom is 2. And for h2 heading we set class name, text will be 4XL and font is bold with a text color gray. Gray is 800 and margin from bottom is 4. Now it's not showing here, so we have to import in our app.jsx. So here I am importing testimonial, and here it is, and here is our testimonial headings. And in our testimonials we will create a card. So I am creating a div. So inside this div we will use same things again and again. So using same things multiple times we can create a array. So here I am creating a array testimonial. Now inside this we can create multiple datas. So curly braces, inside this I am creating name. Name is a string, position, image and feedback. We are using these four things in our card. For image we have to import some images. So here I am importing testimonial image from dot slash assets slash, and this is the image. We need one more image, so simply copy this, and here we can name it testimonial image second, and we can name it testimonial image 1, and here we can change the image which is profilewoman.jpg, and here we can use this image testimonial image 1, and here it is a string, and we can pass the text we want. We can give the position means what is the role of this John person in the company. So we can write here CEO of Google, and in feedback we can write Lorem, and you can use the text whatever you want according to your testimonials. We need one more section, and just we have to remove these values. Dina, we can give it a position CEO of Amazon. Image 2. Now we can use these datas in our card. Before using, we have to create a useState constant current comma set current equals to useState, and the initial value of this useState is 0. Now we have to check what is the length of our testimonials. So here I am creating one more constant testimonial count, which is equal to this testimonial dot length. Now we need two more functionalities for our arrow buttons, which is next testimonial and pre testimonial. So here next testimonial equals to a arrow function. Now inside this we will use setter function from our use state, and we will check if current is equal to testimonial count minus 1, then we need 0, otherwise we will use current plus 1. Now we need to create one more function which is for previous testimonial. So here constant prev testimonial equals to a arrow function. Now inside this we use same functionality, so simply copy this and paste it here, but we need some minor changes, which is if current is equal to 0, then we will use testimonial minus 1, otherwise we will use current minus 1. Now here we have created two functions for our previous testimonial and for our next testimonial, and here I created a testimonial count which check the length of our testimonials. So inside this div I am creating a one more div, and inside this div I create a image tag src curly braces. We will get image from our testimonial and check current dot image. So here is our image, and now we give it class name to style it. We will set width as 32 and height is also 32 and it is rounded and it is full. Border is 4 with a color yellow and it is a object cover. So now image is not stretched. We can give class name to this div. We can set position as relative and we can set a maximum width 4xl and margin from x-axis is auto with a background white. Shadow can be large with rounded large and padding from x-axis will be 6. And inside our image div, it is a flex with justify center. Items are also center with the margin from bottom is 4. Now after this image div, we create a paragraph. Inside this paragraph, we will use our testimonial and check current from useState and we will use dot feedback. And here we can give some class name. We can set text gray of 600 with italic and margin from bottom is 6 with padding from x-axis is 14. Now here it is. After the paragraph tag we can also give a s3 heading. Inside the s3 heading we will use again our testimonial and we check current and we will use from our testimonial dot name and here is our name and right here class name font semi bold with the text is large. After the s3 heading create a paragraph tag. Inside this paragraph tag again we can use testimonial array and check current from our use state with the dot position. We can give some class name. We can set its color to text gray of 500. Now we need two arrows. For arrows we are using React icons. So here we have to import that icons. Import curly braces. We import FA arrow for left side, comma. We also import arrow for our right side and these two icons are from React icons /fa. Now here after the paragraph we create a div. Inside this div we create a button. Inside this button we use our FA arrow which is left and close this tag and we can give it on click. On click we will trigger our brief testimonial. Here it is. We can also give some class name. We can set background as yellow 500 and the text will be white. Padding will be 2 with rounded full. Give it a hover effect with background yellow 600 and give it a transition. Duration can be 300 milliseconds. Now here it is. We need one more button, so simply we can use this button again and here it is. And we need here right arrow, so simply we can replace it with right arrow and here it is. Now here we can give class name, set its position as absolute with inset from x-axis will be 0, top is 1/2 which is 50% and we use transform and minus translate from y-axis will be 1/2 which is 50% and it is a flex with justify between and we can give some padding from x-axis and here it is. And when we click on it, it will show our another testimonial and when we click on our previous icon, here it is showing our previous testimonial. Now after this div, we create one more div which shows the clients we have worked with. So here create a h4 heading who makes me proud and here we can give some class name which is margin from top is 16 and inside our h4 heading we can set class name. We can increase the text size with Excel and the font can be semi bold. Give some margin from bottom which is 14. Here it is. And after this heading we create another div which contain different images. So inside this div, we have to create image tag. So now we need some images. So here we can import our images. Here I have imported 4 images from our assets folder, and here we can use them. So here src curly braces, our first image will be Slack, and we can give it a alt Slack, and we can give some class name. We can set its height as 6, and for medium display we can set its height to 7. Its object is cover. Now we need 3 more images, so simply copy this 1 2 3, and here is our 4 images. We have to just replace this to Google and this to Dropbox, and the last one is Tesla. As Tesla icon is smaller than others, so we can increase it by 8, and here also 8. And inside our images div, we can give some class name, and it is a flex with justify center with a gap of 4, and for medium display we can give gap to 16, and items can be center, and it is a flex wrap. So let me zoom it to check it. We can also give some gap here for our larger screens. So here for larger screen our gap will be 32. So now again check it, and that's it. Our testimonial component is created, and this is for larger screens, and this is for medium screens, and this is for mobile screens. Now we have to create our contact component, this one, and after that we will create our last component, which is footer. So click here and right click on components folder and create a new file, contact.jsx. Here it is. Now RAFCE, and close this. Now in app.jsx we can import this. So here contact, and here it is. Now in our contact component we have to create two sections, left section and right side section. So here we have to create two divs. This div is for left section and this div is for right section. So we can give here a class name. It is a flex with flex colon, and for medium display it is a flex row. Items will be center. Justify is also center, with padding from y-axis will be 12 and padding from x-axis is 4. But for medium display, padding from x-axis will be 12, but for large display, padding from x-axis will be 24, and background will be gray 50, and we are using a gradient background, that's why bg gradient. 2 from top space from white to yellow. Yellow will be 50. And inside our left section div we can give some class name. It is a flex with flex1 and flex colon, and padding from x-axis is 6 and margin from bottom is 14. Now inside this div we create a h2 heading, contact us, and we can give class name to this h2 heading. Text will be 2xl, but for medium display text will be 3xl, and the font is semi-bold, and the margin from bottom can be 4, and the text will be gray 900. After the h2 heading we need a paragraph, and inside this paragraph we can write our text, and here we can give some class name. Margin from bottom is 6, text will be our gray 600. Now after the paragraph we need a div. Inside this div we create one more div. Inside this div we need some icons, so we use react icons, import. We need first icon from fi, which will be a mail icon, and second icon will also from fi, which will be map, and the last icon will be phone icon from react icons /fi. Now we can use these icons. Here we use fi mail icon, and after this icon we create a span tag. Inside this span tag we have to write a mail. So I'm writing a mail example @ ironcoding.com. Now inside this div we can give some class name, give space from y-axis which will be 4 and the text will be gray of 600. Now inside this mail icon class name, text will be yellow of 500 and width will be 6 and height is also 6, and here is our icon. We need these icons two more time, so simply copy these two times. Now we can replace the icon with a map icon, and here we need phone icon. Here is our icons. We can also change this text. Here we can write a address, and in our third span tag we can write a mobile number. Now our left section is created. Now we have to create our right section. Here is our right section div. So in this we can give some class name. It is a flex with items center, and justify is also center with width 11/12, which is 91%, and the maximum width will be screen for small size, and the bg will be white. We use some shadow can be large, and its border will be rounded with large, and padding will be 6. Now inside this div we create a form. Now inside this form we create another div. Now in this form we can pass action as a hash, and method will be post, and we can give some class name. We can set width as 11/12, and we can give some space from y-axis which is 4. Inside this div we create a label name, and we give HTML4 which is name, and some class names. Block text will be small and font will be medium. Text color will be gray of 700. Now after the name text we need a span tag. Inside the span tag we write asterisk sign, and we give some class name which will shown as warning that it is a required text. Color will be red of 500. Here it is. Now after this label we need a input. Set it a type to text, and after the text we give it a id name, and name is name, and it is required. Placeholder will be your name, and we can also give some class name. Margin from top is 1 with block. Width will be full, and padding from x-axis is 4, and padding from y-axis is 2, and give it a border, and border color will be gray of 300. Set its corners as rounded, but we can set it as medium, and give some shadow which can be small, and give font color. We can also set focus as ring which will be yellow. Now we can set focus for our border which is yellow 500. Now after this div, which is this one, we create another div which is for website. Inside this div we create a label website, and we can give some class name. It is a block with text small, and the font will be medium with text color gray of 700, and give it HTML4 which is website, and after the label we give it an input. Inside the input we give it a type which is URL, and id will be website, and name is website. Give a placeholder your website. Inside the text we write it as optional. Now give some class name. We need same styling, so we can copy this and paste it here. Now after this div we create another div which is for message. Now inside this div create a label message, and give it a class name same as this one, so we can copy this and paste it here. After the class name give it HTML4 which is message. After our label tag create a text area, and here give it a id which will be message, and give it a name message and give some rows 4, which is enough, and class name we need again same styling, so copy this and paste it here. After the class name we can give placeholder, which is your message. Here it is. After our message div, create another div which is for submit button. So we create a button inside it and button is submit. Now here choose a type which is submit and give some class name. Width will be full and padding from y-axis is 2 and padding from x-axis is 4 with a background yellow of 500, and we can give text as white. Font will be semi bold with rounded corners for medium, and we can set a hover effect with background yellow of 400, and we can set focus for outline. Ring will be 2 and focus ring will be yellow of 400, and we can again set focus for ring offset, which will be 2. Now our right section is also complete, so we can check. This is our contact component for larger screen and it's for medium display, and for the smaller screen this one, and it is working very well with responsiveness. Now move to our last component, which is footer. So here footer.jsx, and here we have to write RAFCE. Now we have to import this component in our app.jsx. So here write footer and it is imported, and back to our footer. Now inside this div we have to create another div, and inside this div we have to create another div. This div is for our left section. So inside this div we create a h2 heading iron coding. Now after the h2 heading we give it a paragraph. Inside the paragraph tag you can write a text. Now you can give some styling to our left section. Margin from bottom is 8, but for medium display margin from bottom is 0, and for medium display our width will be 1/4, which is 25%, and margin from right side is 6, and text will be center, but for the medium display text will be start. So here is our text, and inside the h2 heading give some class name. Text size will be 3XL and font is semi bold. Give a color yellow 500. For the paragraph tag class name, margin from top is 1 and give it a color gray 500, and for medium display our padding from right side is 5. Now for our main div, give some class name. You can set a background as white, and margin from top will be 12 with flex colon, and items will be center. Now inside this class name, it is a container with flex and flex colon, but for medium display it is a flex row, and justify will be between with padding from x-axis is 5. Now after this div we create another div. Now inside this div we create a h3 heading explore, and after the h3 heading we create a unordered list. Inside the unordered list we create list items, and inside the list item we create anchor tags support, and we give it a href hash. We need two more allies, so here we can replace the text to about us, and here we can write blog. Now give some styling to this div class name. It is a flex with justify center. It is a flex with justify between, and for medium display our width will be 3/4, which is 75%. Here it is, and inside this div give some class name. Give some space from y-axis can be 4, and for our h3 heading we give class name. We can set font as medium, and we can set text color to gray of 700, and for our order list write class name, give it a text color gray of 700 of 500 and give some space from y-axis which is 2. Now after this div we create another div and inside this div we create a s3 heading and a unordered list, so we can copy this one, so here we can paste it. Here we need only two LIs, so we can remove third one, and here we can change the text to terms of use, and here we can write privacy policy. Here we can give some class name. We can set space from our y-axis which can be 4, and after this div create another div. Again we need same as 3 and unordered list, so we can paste it here, and we can change this text to Twitter, and here we can write LinkedIn, and here we can write Instagram, and for this we can write social, and here legal. Here is our left section, and this all section is our right section with three different elements, and here we need a yellow line at the bottom. So now after this div we create another div, and we can give it some class name to make a line. So class name margin from top will be 8, and we can set a background as yellow of 500, and we can set height which will be 2. After the s2 heading we can set width as full. Now here is our yellow line, and we can check if it is responsive, and this is our footer for large screen, and this is the footer for our medium screens, and for the mobile version it's showing very good. Now all the components are completed. Now we have to give redirection which we can give from React scroll. So here we want, when we click on about, we will scroll down to our about component, and when we click on the service section we can redirect to our services. So here we can achieve this with React scroll effect. So here we can write React scroll, and here it is. So we have to just copy this command, and in our terminal we can paste this command and press enter. Now our package is installed in our project. So now close the terminal, and here open the navbar.jsx. Now in navbar.jsx we have to import a link tag from our React scrolls. So here write import and curly braces, inside the curly braces write link, L should be capital, and import from React scroll. Now inside our LIs here we have to wrap this text inside our link tag. So here write link and simply cut this ending and paste it here. Now here we have to give some attributes. First will be 2, and here write 2, and we also set smooth for scrolling effect which will be true, and set duration will be 500. Now here we have to add 2 colon, and we can set different IDs for different component. For the about component we can set a ID about, and for the services, and here write 2 colon work, and for the testimonial write 2 double quotes and testimonial, and similarly in our contact. Now we have to give these IDs to these components, so we can use these two in our map function here, and in our about.jsx we can set a ID here about. We can check if it is working. So here when we click on about we scroll to about me, and similarly for contact we can set a ID here which is contact, and for the services we have to set ID services, and for the testimonial write here ID and it will be testimonial, and for the work. Now check here, when we click on about it scroll to about component, and when we click on services it scroll down to services, and for the work it's showing work, and for testimonials it redirects to our testimonial. And when we click on contact, it scroll down to contact us component. Now for the mobile screen we have to set similarly. So in navbar.jsx we can copy this whole thing, and here we can replace it, and in our map function we have to set 2, and when we click on about it scrolls to about, and similarly for work and similarly for contact, and all the things are working fine. And that's it, our portfolio website is completed. Must check the description for all the assets and resources used in the video. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more coding tutorials. Till then, happy coding.